I'm back in New Orleans at the National World War II Museum in the Road to Tokyo galleries. Here we're looking at some artifacts Miss Chrissy pulled from the vault. Now Julia told me that the attack devastated Hawaii, but did it have a larger effect on the United States?
Ileana, that's a fantastic question, and as you probably guessed, it definitely did. This infamous day was felt by many Americans all across this country. They were listening to, their regularly scheduled program on these radio broadcasts, and this news interrupts that radio broadcast. Or, as we actually even see here, these are some artifacts indeed from our vault. And these are all major headlines that day about Japan attacking the United States and the US now at war. So here, closest to you, we see a newspaper from Chicago. Next to me is actually a newspaper from a small town, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And of course, in the center here is a newspaper from New Orleans declaring that war. So it's something that Americans felt all across this country, that this day of infamy would live with many of them for the rest of their life.
Now you say day of infamy a lot, and we've heard it several times. So what does infamy mean?
You see, that's another really great question, and we actually have used it quite a bit, haven't we? Infamy means being famous for a negative reason, and it's a great word because it's the same word that our president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, uses in a famous speech the day after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And in that speech, he is asking Congress to declare war on Japan. And actually, on the other side of you, we have a copy of that speech. Now, it's not the final speech. You can see there's some edits to it from Roosevelt himself. But can you look there and see what's the first sentence on there? What does it say?
It says, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in world history.
World history. And then you can see above, though, he scratched out world history and wrote infamy. So why do you think he would change his words?
Well, he knew it was a speech that was important in American history, so he wanted to get his point across, kind of like the Lincoln's Gettysburg Address.
Exactly. Going to war was a big step for our country. Thousands of people were killed in a surprise attack, a truly terrible act. Calling Japan's attack infamous set the tone for his request, and it proved to be true. Congress almost unanimously declared war on Japan.
Now, at the end of 1941, America was finally dragged into the World War that China and Japan had been fighting since 1937, and much of Europe had been in since 1939. In the days after the attack, thousands of Americans joined the fight, signing up at recruiting centers across the country. 3 days later, Germany and Italy, who were allied with Japan, declared war on the United States. For the next 3.5 years, the U.S. would be committed to fighting and winning this global conflict. I see more posters.
Exactly, yeah, I actually pulled some earlier from our vault. Earlier in the electronic field trip, our audience voted on what the meaning of propaganda was. Do you remember that meaning?
Propaganda is a tool used to convince or persuade people to act or believe in a certain way. Okay, you guys voted on which Pearl Harbor posters you wanted to see. Let's see how you voted. Well, it looks like the students chose option B.
Oh, perfect. This is another great propaganda poster. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take the back seat here and let you be the historian. Tell me what you see in that poster there.
Well, it's very dark and dramatic, and there seems to be a sailor with his fist up, like he's charging forward. And I think that's the USS Arizona exploding in the back.
That's actually exactly right. And notice, if you take a closer look at that sailor there, his sleeve is all tattered. What do you think that might mean?
Well, it could mean that he might have been in the attack, and he looks very determined.
Yeah, very good. I think you're exactly right. Now, there's another really good vocabulary term in that poster. It says avenge December 7th. What do you think avenge means?
Well, avenge kind of sounds like revenge, so it could mean that the U.S. was getting back at Japan for the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Exactly. Man, I couldn't analyze it any better myself. Great job, Ileana.
So I hear a lot of avenge and remember.
Yeah, you're exactly right to pick up on that. That was a common theme after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Posters actually like the one that we just analyzed were spread across towns, communities, and cities all throughout World War II. And you know what? It wasn't just posters. I actually have some other great artifacts here from the museum's vault that say you probably guessed it, Remember Pearl Harbor. So as you can see here, we've got this really neat comic book that says Remember Pearl Harbor with Uncle Sam charging at Japan. There were also buttons and pins and trinkets, and so these sweetheart pins, which are actually pins given by those loved ones far away at home, from home at the war, they would send these to their loved ones here on the home front saying, I remember you and I miss you and I'm thinking about you. And so the common themes with those is remember Pearl Harbor, never forget. And you can see some of them are pretty elaborate and pretty beautiful.
Wow, if the response was this great on the mainland, I wonder what it was like back in Hawaii. Let's see what Julia's up to.
Right now, I'm at Theodore Roosevelt High School on Oahu with Jimmy. Roosevelt High was here 75 years ago, and the place changed a lot in the months after the attack. Check this out. Many seniors in the high school joined the military. Several students who went to Roosevelt were even killed during World War II. They are honored with this plaque in front of the school. Their names are read by students to this day. So Jimmy, when did you return to school after the attack, and how did school life change?
You know, I was not at this school before, but I went to a school called WWII, and that's near my home. But, you know, right after the attack, the school was closed. It was used for a hospital.
Wow.
And therefore, I'm not sure exactly when I went back to school, but it was a long time. But during that time, you know, with martial law, I mean, we just lived in fear. And, you know, the military took control. And we had blackouts, we had rationing, we had censorship. And all the things that we used to do, you know, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, we had to do things the military way. And we lived like that for 3 years.
Wow.
You know, like going into the waters, you know, and that was a violation. Every time I did that, I got arrested. Martial law was really something that disciplined us. We could not say anything.
The military took over parts of the school's administration building, the athletic fields, and the backyard. The school was even surrounded by barbed wire barricades. Students supported the war effort and joined the Victory Corps, a club that gathered scrap materials and sold war bonds to help pay for the war.
You know, Julie, the students here were so patriotic. And you know, this school here, the students, they raised almost over $160,000. You know, buying war bonds and stamps and working in the pineapple fields.
So schools, especially here in Hawaii, dramatically changed after the attack. Not only did their physical appearance alter with barbed wire and barricades, but the students helped the war effort in ways that they could. Many even enlisted in the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps, some never coming back from the battlefronts.